was a terrible tragedy, the more so as it was not directly caused by enemy action. The government hushed up the tragedy at the time as they didn't want to jeopardise civilian morale. This is Tower Hamlets Cemetery in Bow, and the graves around this area mostly of people who died during the Blitz. As you can see, it's in terrible condition really. It's a poor memorial to those people's lives. For example, let's have a look at this. You come in close. This grave here, for example. This grave here. What is it? Age 20, and our dear baby, aged 56, aged 21, and a 3-year-old baby, killed by enemy action, July 1941. And just over to my right over there are quite a lot of the victims of the Bethnal Green tube disaster. Try and find some of those graves. There's one here, 3rd of March 1943. Another one over here. Nine years, 8 years old. 2 young girls died in Bethnal Green tube disaster. Most of these graves in this area are from the Bethnal Green tube disaster. Another one over here, look, 27 years of age, 3rd of March 1943. Whole families were wiped out. The City of London used to contain 3 produce markets. There was Billingsgate Market, which was the fish market, which has now moved out to the Isle of Dogs. There was Spitalfields Fruit and Veg Market, which has moved out to Leytonstone, and Smithfield Meat Market, otherwise known as London Central Market, which is still in the City of London. The trade of market porter was one of the biggest employment fields for people in the East End of London. In 1968, Enoch Powell made his famous Rivers of Blood speech in Birmingham, which led to him being sacked from the Tory shadow cabinet by Ted Heath. What he said was, "Like the Roman, I seem to see the Tiber foaming with much blood." This was a reference to the troubles associated with unchecked immigration and all the problems that would go with that he saw as the future for Britain. When Heath sacked Enoch Powell, the market porters from Smithfield and the dockers from the East End marched together on Westminster in support of Enoch Powell. They formed up over here, 500 of them, 500 market porters, virtually the entire contingent of market porters, and marched down to Downing Street. That was the East End working class in support of the British patriotic policy, anti-immigration, back in the 60s. The National Front was founded in 1967, and in the aftermath of Powell's speech, enjoyed steady growth as it marched and electioneered across the country. In the late 1970s, the National Front was gaining increasing levels of electoral support in the East End of London. In 1977 Greater London Council elections, for example, they did particularly well in Bethnal Green and Bow, Stepney and Poplar, and Hackney South and Shoreditch constituencies. At the same time, the NF was looking for a central London headquarters building, and where was it more natural to site this building than in Shoreditch, the area of its greatest electoral strength, and the building itself was just around the corner from here. To celebrate the opening of the National Front's headquarters building, a march was held, led by the usual forest of Union Jacks, from from the Embankment right through the City of London to Shoreditch and Great Eastern Street. You will notice the Tower Hamlets branch banner. We'll come back to that later in our story. The march ended at the headquarters building, which was called Excalibur House. The marchers were greeted by a large contingent of members who were at the building. Behind me is 73 Great Eastern Street. It's now the College of Central London, one of these foreign language colleges for foreign students that comes here to supposedly learn English. It somehow typifies the decline of London, and it's a bit of a sad end to what could have been a very valuable resource for the nationalist movement. The building would be worth a small fortune now. It was lost through the typical squabbles inherent within nationalism at that time: non-payment of rates to Hackney Council, planning law application, internal faction fighting. That's what cost the party, the nationalist movement, this very vital and worthwhile asset. This is Clark Street in Whitechapel, where Albert Mariner used to live. Albert Mariner, as many people will know, was a key activist in the old National Front in the early 80s and in the late 70s. I first knew him in 82 when I joined the local branch, and knew him for a number of months before his death in early 83. This is his gold badge that was awarded, if you can see it there, awarded to key activists every year at the annual general meeting. That's actually Albert's one. In April 83 there was a by-election, a Greater London Council by-election in Tottenham in North London, and there was going to be a public election meeting a few days before polling day, and the word was out on the street there's going to be a bit of trouble at this election meeting. 50 of us turned up at Tottenham Hale tube station. This was the year before the Broadwater Farm riots in Tottenham, and it was only about half a mile from Broadwater Farm. There was 50 of us, and we had to go from the tube station at Tottenham Hale to a local school for this public election meeting. And in between the station and the school was a builder's yard full of bricks, stones and everything. As we went from the station to the school, we had to go past hundreds, literally hundreds, of the local black residents who emptied the builder's yard onto us as we walked past. The 50 of us cut our way straight through the blacks and got into the meeting. Unfortunately, one of us was Albert Mariner, and he was one of the few people who actually got hit on the head by one of these objects. The meeting went ahead okay, but Albert was taken away in an ambulance to local hospital, where he later apparently discharged himself and went home. After the meeting we had loudspeakering to do, leafleting to do. We had to go to the count on the Thursday, and then after that, on the weekend, there was one of these screwdriver gigs in I think it was in the Blue Coat Boy in Islington, and I was somewhat busy, didn't get around to see Albert after the meeting to see how he was until the Sunday. On the Sunday I called round for him because I was going to help him carry the bags down to Brick Lane to sell papers on the corner. I used to call round to help him carry him there. He was in his 60s, and there was no reply. I thought, oh, he must have gone down the lane earlier. I went down the lane, met up with a few older people. I was only a youngster at the time. Met with some of the older people. No one knew, no one had seen him for a few days. The last time anyone had seen him had been in the pub called the Horn of Plenty on, I think, the Thursday. We went down to see where he was, in someone's car. Funnily enough, it was Graham John, who only died in 2004 himself. We came to Albert's flat, knocked on the door, no reply. Looked through the letterbox, and you could tell you knew something was wrong immediately. We had to call the police. They broke in and